Dr. Jim Beckett. How are you, sir?
Thanks, Brad. My big pickup at the National was Victor's rookie card.
There you go. There you go.
It's
Mine too.
debatable. It's debatable, though.
Well, it wasn't pack pulled, but it was lovingly presented.
It was packed fresh, though. Want to definitely say good morning to Herman. Want to definitely say good morning to 3B Herman. Appreciate you jumping on. And we're I want to make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button. We'll make sure that we do say good morning to Rex and the kids and everybody at the shop at MoCo. Rex, man, it was good to have dinner with you. It was good to shake a paw. Sorry that the boys couldn't make it, but Rex and Owen, what's up, boys? Hope y'all are having a great day, and the check is in the mail for aggravating your dad. So we appreciate you very much having us live at the show. And if you want to have us live on your show, your card shop as well, just let me know. Just let me know. We'll get you taken care of in the chat. Look at this. What's up, Brody? What is up? It was good to have dinner with you. Good to have dinner with you. And again, there is Mr. Skid Marks, PSA Hall of Famer. Good morning, Logan. And good morning, Paige and Bean Bean. And we have somebody who didn't pull a Keating, John Keating. How are you? Good morning. Good morning. We'll start with the topic of we'll just jump into the National. We'll just jump into it, and we were talking about it beforehand about the new management going on. Why don't you start us off with your thoughts there, Mr. Victor?
Well, I did a detailed recap on my YouTube channel, but I've been consuming a lot of content regarding national recaps, and there's something that I have noticed that is lacking, and I kind of want to give credit where credit is due, and that is in the Breakers Pavilion we had Whatnot, and I don't know much about Whatnot. It's not breaking and that kind of thing. It's not kind of my vibe, but so I don't really know exactly what they do, but I do know that they had a really nice setup back there, and they had almost like a carnival type feel to what they were doing. They actually had like carnival games, and they were giving out prizes, and they weren't giving out, they were giving out some really good stuff, and they were doing live broadcasts and live breaks, and just I out of all of the recap information that's out there, I feel like they're not getting credit due. And I know as a corporation, they're probably looking for feedback. And I just want to tip my hat to Whatnot and the job they did at entertaining kids. They did have some peak hours, I noticed, where it was packed full of kids, and they just did a phenomenal job. So hats off to Whatnot.
No, I appreciate that. And Rich, what were your thoughts about the new management that we're
well,
going to have?
I knowing fairly well, because I actually used to work for John Brochi, and I've known the family for more than 40 years. I know all the people involved, and I knew Mike Burkus. I don't know his son as well, and I know Dr. Jim and I have a podcast coming up about this, but I want to first congratulate that group. They got us through a very tough time in the hobby when we were valleying and it was tough and the economy was tough. And then they've done a really good job of pushing the National forward. A lot of the things that Victor just talked about with the Breakers Pavilion began with them. And one of the things about breaking is not something that most people going to the National are going to go to a breaker's table to see what they get from a breaker pull. That brings you the National, but you're not there. It's a really cool way of getting a feel of the National without being there. But the fact that Whatnot did all that extra stuff to help people who might not be there for buying cards or visiting a corporate booth or just might get bored. I mean, you're a 10-year-old boy or a 10-year-old girl, you probably can get bored pretty easily. Well, if there's a carnival atmosphere, that's a big plus. The parents can put you there and know you're safe. And that's something to be said for doing an event like that. And I know, and Jim knew Mike Burkus a lot better than I did, but I'll guarantee you that was one of Mike Burkus's types of ideas. Let's do something to make the National more than just a place you buy and sell baseball cards or sports cards or non-sports cards. And if that helps push it forward, I'm a big fan. So I want to congratulate the great 20-year run and the new promoters. It's the people who run, it's Joe Drellick, and then the two people, Jimmy Ryan, and I don't remember the other guy's name, and they run what used to be the White Plains Not Sports in East Coast National. It's at a different location. They run other shows in that area. They're familiar with running big shows. For them, running a national is a huge leap, but not like going from, I was running a 40-table show. Could you imagine if I ran a 40-table show and then all of a sudden I got the national? Do you know what type of a leap that would be? They at least have been running big shows. And since they've been running big shows, they have experience, and it would be maybe a big step, but not some quantum leap where you have to go from 0 to 60. They're going from 40 to 60.
Yeah, Jim, what are your comments on the new management?
Well, I think I agree with Rich. Obviously, I think the Brogy family and the Burkus family have had a nice run, but I think Mike Burkus in particular would be pleased. I mean, since he's been gone, again, no one's indispensable, but he was extremely valuable. But there's been increased energy, increased promotion, and increased corporate. All things that Mike Burkus really brought to the event, and so that's continuing. He'd be pleased. But it's time for the next group. And as Rich said, Rich knows those guys better than I do. But I think their pedigree is good, and I have high hopes that they'll work closely with the board of directors to put on great shows that are better and better.
Me too. I do want to say we had a couple people jump in. Ed, safe at home. Thank you very much for the Pete Alonso. Greatly appreciated. And then Big Scott 35. What's up, big dog? It's good to see you at the National. And then Cardman Dan. Happy to have you on a Saturday. Wow, my days are just a little mixed up here. On a
Brad,
Saturday
are you retired?
morning.
If you're thinking today is Friday, you must be retired.
Well, I'm still got my little national hangover. I just woke up like from the National yesterday, so with all the flight problems that I had.
But Brad, you're one of the ones that didn't get COVID at the National,
which is very odd.
Victor and I didn't. In Philadelphia.
Yeah, Victor and I didn't. It just took me forever to actually wake up and recover from all the flight delays that I had. But yeah, absolute super spreader event for COVID. Rich, aren't you glad that you didn't go now?
Well, as I pointed out, this was a medical decision because of my wife who came down with the COVID. And I asked the doctor when I was waiting with her in the ER, and the doctor said, "You're not going." So it was a medical decision based, and I texted Jim almost immediately. He was actually the first person I said, "By the way, I'm not going." And Jim tried to talk me into it, and I said, "Well, if it was Chicago, I'd give it a shot because I could probably fudge getting up late Thursday or Friday and then stay Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come back Monday." But this was like, no. So I'm glad I didn't go because I probably would have gotten more people sick. I mean,
I would have gotten a second opinion there, Rich.
After he got back on Twitter, this is just a random thing. He knew 45 people who got sick at the show. And I know many of the people who stayed at the Hobby Hotline house got sick at the show. And, and I told John Newman, I just don't want to risk it for other people. And John and his wife both got it. And I hope they're getting better. And John thinks he'll be back at work. I know Dina is teaching. My mother-in-law got it because she's older and has some other issues. It's affecting her a little longer. I'm just blessed. I'm double vaxxed and double boosted. And I've been so far, knock on wood. If I had it, it was very minor. But thank goodness I didn't hear anybody, die yet. I know last year we probably had a couple people who passed as a result of that. This year we didn't. So I'm just hoping that does not happen.
Yeah, Victor, how did you escape the the spreader event?
I actually had it like 2 weeks prior to going to the national. That's
Oh,
what I,
that's
I
why.
think was my big. But I had like a fever for like a day or two, and then it broke, and then I was fine, and I tested negative all the way up until the national. So
Yeah, and this is what's really interesting is I mean, uh, Logan's son was in the actual house with us. So a couple of guys at the house got it, but Logan didn't, which is very interesting. And Logan and his son were spending time. It's just interesting. Jim, how did you avoid it?
Well, there's a force field around the dollar boxes. It's a bubble.
I could just see that actually in play where somebody's trying to take Jim's cards and he's just fighting them off.
A lot of cards are contaminated on those surfaces, but
Exactly.
people keeping their heads down.
Yeah, there you go, bro. Yeah, Brody. I mean, everybody just back, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So
My wife, very perceptive. She says, you're very cavalierly mentioning on the air, for the public to know this personal, private health information for all these other people who, according to HIPAA or whatever, may not want everybody to know their health condition. Um, but again, I really think 2022 is very different from the last couple of years. That I won't say benign, but it's not as virulent. It's not as scary. It's not as scary, and so we're really hoping that everybody gets a mild case. But again, they're passing it on like crazy. Again, super spreader event for sure, but hopefully just on the order of like the regular flu,
right.
which is still unpleasant.
As I said, I think I'm not like Victor. If I had it, I had it for a day. I actually never tested because I had one bad night. I started actually taking Dayquil the next day and had some cough drops, and by that night I was fine. It's like, you know what? And I never even stopped working. I mean, so I consider myself blessed that I got through this with minimal. The only thing I did is instead of doing 3 miles at the mall, I did 2 miles at the mall, just because I wasn't quite all the way there. So I wanted to keep walking, but I didn't want to go upstairs too. I just did the downstairs lap,
Yeah.
the bigger lap. But that was about the only difference I made. And yes, Logan, I know for many people that was by far the worst pickup of the show.
Yeah. Well, Herman made a comment earlier about headed to his LCS to pick up International Sports Day packs. It is International Sports Card Day, and we are having a lot of different things and whatnot going on. Who's going to the card shop and picking up stuff? I know, Rich, you're probably going to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to stop. Actually, I've got a busy day. I'm going to stop at triple cards on my way, and then I'm going to go for my walk. And then there's a small show, and it's not 4887 Alpha Road, but it's 5002 Alpha Road.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's not listed in Beckett or Sports Collectors Digest, but the guy Facebooked me, so I'm going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's down the street from our old Beckett office. That's why I mentioned 4887. So I'm going to have a busy hobby day today.
Yeah,
well, that's really close to the, I think now old Beckett media offices. I don't know if they've completely moved, but Rich, are they gone from McEwen?
I think if they're not gone from McEwen, they'll be gone very soon. I know they were in the process of moving,
but that's just
they're moving basically near me.
Yeah, but the card show you're talking about is a few.
Yeah, the card show's near our old office when I first moved down here.
Right.
Yeah, so it's Collect Fest DFW is what's going on. It's at the Sportsplex, another small card show. I've still got National Hangover. Otherwise, I'd go to it.
Oh, it's at the Sportsplex. How many tables?
Yes. I didn't read how many tables and any of the information, but it's smaller than the Arlington show, which is Kyle's second show. but it's not by any means like a 10 or 12 staple show. I think I would imagine somewhere around 30, but I'm guessing. So I wouldn't. There has been very little like information out there other than word of mouth. So
Right. The person, yeah, as I mentioned, it wasn't listed in the Beckett, but I see it's Collector Fest. But the man asked me if I wanted tables. I told him the truth. I sold out in January, but he was very courteous and said, by all means, you can walk around and give out flyers at your show, at my show. So it was very nice of him.
yeah.
And
So
so I'm going to go there later today, and it should be fun. I mean, I stopped in earlier today at Doug Kale's, another of our former Beckett teammates, toy show where I always let Doug hand out flyers at my show. So he was courteous enough to tell me by all means I could give out flyers at his show. And I actually came early bird, so I gave him a little money because otherwise it's $20 for the first hour. And I didn't really want to spend $20 to walk around early. But I gave him basically a cross between the early bird admission and their normal admission. So it'd be something. And so this is really a full hobby day for me, but that's kind of fun.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad there's not a rule like this that you're not allowed to go to another card show until you've processed the ones you purchased from the show before. So, I'm still trying to dig out from what I got at the National. So I don't need more cards right now in limbo.
Yeah.
I am curious.
Plus, you bought a couple lots in a big auction recently, so
Yeah.
you're going to get more stuff anyway.
Yeah, it's a steady stream. I'm trying to convince Diane that it's subtraction by addition.
That actually is not bad. I know what you bought, and we'll talk. And I know we'll talk about that on a podcast. But it's exciting. You're getting stuff that's going to be stuff you may never have seen before.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I mean, I go to Walmart all the time, but I don't get blasters. They didn't used to be there. Now some of them are there, but this is an accumulation that'll be, like Rich says, it'll be fun.
yeah, let's talk a little bit about International Day. Rex has been commenting here. Tops added Garbage Pail Kids, soccer's the International Day, plus the Shoyo and the Wander Franco. This leads to a very interesting dilemma because Trout's winding. It looks like, at least health wise, he's winding down his career. Shoyo almost got traded, which was just fascinating. But then you've got this Wander Franco. I'm gonna say rookie card, Victor. I'm gonna let you correct me if I'm wrong because it is internationally distributed. It is widely given, so it does follow multiple of your rules. But I don't think this card's going to be as massively produced as everything else. I would love to get your thoughts on that, Jim, with it being International Trading Card Day.
Well, I don't know much about it, but I don't know who's on what card shops are on the docket per se, but I know like the nearest shop near me is Baseball Card Exchange, and I know they don't at least in previous years they never participated with National Baseball Card Day. So I don't, there's so much you got to really consider as far as on the distribution side. But yeah, it comes in a pack. I think it's nationally distributed. I couldn't really answer that unless I did the homework on it. But it's a great card, and we'll see how it all plays out in the end. Nothing wrong with really identifying as a rookie year card. What's wrong with that identifier? Very respectable identifier. So we'll see how it all plays out.
What confuses the people, Victor, and this is your dilemma, was our dilemma as well, is that 5 years afterwards, when you're looking back at a bunch of 2022 cards of a certain player, that, like you say, is his rookie year, you can't tell always by the card, the stats on the back, whatever. It looks like a rookie card,
right?
But the average collector doesn't always know the mode of distribution. That it's in a pack, yeah, but it's kind of a free pack. So that's not exactly the same, but some of that nuance is lost 5 or 10 years later. It
Yep.
just looks like a 2022 card.
Yep. Yep. And that's where my ploy to the industry is. We should be identifying these cards, properly. And really the RC, the reason why it's watered down is because it's plastered on everything. But let's identify. Why can't we create an RY identifier instead of an RC identifier? Or why can't we just officially, somebody in the legal department make a term or a blanket statement that says everything produced in a person's rookie year is a rookie card? And then that way we have a legal authority making a decision, and opinions can be overruled. But that is a dilemma, and that's where the waters are muddied even further.
The problem, Victor, is the we is not us.
Yeah.
We is them. And if when this was changed in 05, 06, whenever that was, it was motivated by the Players Association and the leagues, and they agreed to start putting this RC symbol on there. And if they were to agree to a rookie year thing, I mean, really, it's up to them. It's up to them.
So would that make, Victor, in retrospective, would that make Fanatics the legal authority? Would be, instead of, now that Fanatics is taking place, what are your thoughts on Fanatics being the legal authority, or would it have to still be the Players Association?
It would have to be the Players Association, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And just remember, on a historical viewpoint, one of the key reasons this whole thing got changed, and Jim knows this because he got waylaid a lot more than I did by this, but in 2001, when we had Ichiro and Pujols as rookies that had never had cards before, neither of them had Bowman cards. Ichiro because he came from Japan, and Pujols because he shot up through the Cardinals minor league system, and they just didn't put him in a Topps card, in a Bowman card. We had real rookie cards in 2001 of basically the MVPs that year. And it really galvanized, and it was like, wait a second. And it made total sense. Football and basketball, by the nature of their sports, your rookie cards are in your rookie year. Where in hockey, it's the same principle to some extent as baseball. Unless you're a super duper star, you're going to be in the minors for a few years, but there wasn't quite the same Bowman minor league hockey. There was Bowman minor league baseball. So they wanted to try to make sure you had rookie cards in your rookie year, which honestly makes a lot of sense to me in terms of, simplifying the hobby. And I will tell you, for a few years, it really did simplify things. And now it's spiraling back, but it worked. And that's something to remember. It worked. That whole rookie card change worked.
That was the motivation. It was to get rookie players having rookie cards in their rookie year, and not before, and hopefully not after either. And but so the problem was the cards that jump the gun, that are in street clothes or distributed in different ways. And so, but that needed to be cleaned up, and it really wasn't. What's happened is just some additional categories of pre-rookie cards and first cards and prospect cards and stuff like that. So, Victor, unfortunately, it's just further muddying the water, and hopefully the we that you're talking about will see the wisdom of what you're saying.
Yeah, I kind of want to go to this there. Now, everybody, I don't like that you were covered up. I kind of want to go back to the conversation and a comment that Rex made here about, garbage pail kids, soccer packs, international day trading packs, and then, these soccer cards being international. It really adds a different flavor to the their trading card day. It's going to be interesting to see about cross-selling and cards from over in Europe into the U.S. and U.S. into it. I know this is not anybody's wheelhouse here on the panel, but if you wanted this, say this card, this Ronaldo card, what would be, other than eBay, what would be a better way to like cross promote or anything like that? I guess is where I'm trying to go with it. Thoughts?
It's international, it's trading, so it's not national, and it's not baseball. So it's International Trading Card Day. And Rich, are there actually 2 days?
This Saturday and next Saturday.
So now it's International Trading Card Days.
And then honestly, it's been the last 2 Saturdays for the last several years.
Yeah. But again, these cards are not rare. There's a bunch of them out there. So
they will show up on the secondary market. You won't have any trouble finding them.
You won't have any trouble getting them. But for somebody that picks up a pack, if they get this multi-sport or this non-sport inclusion there, it could open their eyes. So I'm in favor of anything that's more inclusive. And again, Fanatics through Topps, they have to be thinking bigger, and that means more international and more kinds of subjects for cards. Not just sports, but non-sports.
Okay. And I'm in like 1999, I went to a show at Niagara Falls. And there's one good store in the area. It's now Mega Store, but the best store at the time was, of course, Dave & Adams. Now, of course, it's about 10 times what it was then. But I went to Dave & Adams. And what Dave & Adams did, and I think Garbage Pail Kids were hot, or whatever it was in 1999 that was hot. People would come in, and they made sure, even though they were cheap packs, everybody who came in, because it's Buffalo, got a free hockey pack at the time. They made sure you came in for that, here's a free hockey pack. In a sense, they were doing National Trading Card Day before National Trading Card Day. And that was a really smart business thing to do. What Topps is doing is here. We're not just baseball cards. We do soccer. I agree with the comments that said F1 would have really helped. But we are doing Garbage Pail Kids. This is for the people who collected and came back, from the 80s and 90s and did Garbage Pail Kids. Soccer. We are more than just baseball. And, and they'll be, and I suspect next year or 2 years from now, when they get football and basketball full time, you'll have more sports coming in too.
Maybe F1 wasn't included because it's already scorching hot.
Maybe.
They don't need to promote it.
Well, Cartman Dan had a great question or comment here. Having other packs like GBK and soccer make me believe it won't be a high print run. And there's a comment down here that Rex made. Here, we bought the giveaway cards and packs. Distributors have them too, but maybe they don't always actively sell them. We weren't able to get them to our your first business. So the scarcity of, or the print run, there's a question. Is there any way, or would there be any way to find out if they are massively produced or if they are scarcely produced? I don't know.
That's proprietary information.
They're not scarce.
But they're not, yeah, Jim's right.
Unless there's some short prints in there. It's just, the whole idea is to get the cards out there. So
And here's a great comment we were talking about Wander. It's a special card given out free for qualifying purchases next week. I did remember this now that Herman said this, because there's a next week. If you qualify this week, then you bring back your wrappers next week, and it's like a wrapper or something program where you get the Wander. So then, Victor, it does not pass muster for your rookie card designation. So that would also lead me to believe that it is a lesser print than anything else. So thank you, Herman. Thank you. So, and then Logan had an interesting comment here. Is there an international sticker day? I wanted to throw that out there just because an interesting question. We've had that sticker conversation before, Dr. Beckett.
Every day is International Sticker Day. All over the world. There's infinitely more stickers out there than we even can imagine. I mean, and they're stuck. They're not collected, they're stuck.
Yes, yes. So call in, join in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That way you can get your notification as to when we actually are live. We appreciate everybody joining. I'm running in, and then here's Kevin Jones. I love to turn back the clock. Free, I guess it's football promotions, or I'm guessing that's what he says. The top few.
They did more. They did baseball and basketball too, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then we appreciate we got allocated 2 boxes of. So to me, that makes me say that the actual print run is not as scarce as everybody is hoping, so that we actually get a ton of cards, which is always good. I prefer more cards than less cards.
Rex brought up an interesting point. He talked about distributors earlier. And while it's not confirmed, several major content creators posted and talked about how GTS, which I actually used to write for, so I have to, I want to be very careful in saying this is not confirmed by them. This is just and Magazine Exchange, and we don't know if there are others, that they have been told that as of January 1st, they will no longer be distributors of Topps cards. And it's an interesting change, frankly, one that some of us thought would happen. But it's an interesting change, and I definitely want to hear everybody else's opinions on this.
Yes, and great segue, Mr. Uncle Rich. Great segue. Victor, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. I just, corporate America, typically when there is a takeover of this magnitude, the first thing they do is clean house. And this is step one in many other steps to come. And they're going to make their observations. They're going to get rid of things they feel need to go. Unfortunately, I work in corporate America in the railroad industry, and even in my career at the railroad, it's happened to me. And new management comes in, and they just start, chopping heads, and you have to adapt, pivot. GTS has a good standing reputation, I believe, and they're just going to have to maybe reinvent themselves and pivot and adjust and keep going. I think they do hold other, for Upper Deck and other sources. So I don't think it's going to be a blow to them. I'm sure, but I don't think it's going to knock them out of the water.
Yeah. Dr. Beckett, what do you think?
Well, it's possible that GTS was the most successful distributor. And so, again, I don't think there's any hard feelings. Well, it could be some hard feelings, but it's basically a philosophical or a business decision, as Victor says. It's good business to get closer to your customers. And if GTS was the most profitable distributor, that's a lot of margin points that Fanatics is now bringing in-house. And so my question is, why are they singling out Magazine Exchange and GTS, only those two out of the several? And there's been some question about whether their business practices were a little bit different than the others in terms of not fully distributing all their product immediately on release, holding back and observing the secondary market. But even that has a value to Fanatics. Who's to say that Fanatics wouldn't do the same thing, that they would produce the cards, and then whether they have a Dutch auction or however way they distribute it to the card shops and to the other to their customers, are they really going to distribute down to the last case, down to the last box, so there's no reorders? They might. That might be their new philosophical thing, that the secondary market. But everything I've read about Michael Rubin is he wants to participate fully and all the way up and down the chain in terms of these transactions that involve their cards.
Yeah, my theory is, and I've made this public, so it's not anything. I believe that the next domino to fall is one of the distributors. It's just which distributor is willing to play ball. I think Fanatics is about to buy another distributor, and or to buy a distributor because of the ready-made channels, because of the ready-made lists, because of the ready-made distribution model. They don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel. And you've got emails already, you've got contact lists, you've got stuff already into the actual into the sales model and the sales cycle. It's less work. It's working, smarter, not harder. And that's why you're seeing some manipulation, maybe taking out the big boys before they actually make that move. That's an interesting concept. What do you think about that, Dr. Beckett?
Well, I mean, Rich already has or will point out that Lids is now going to be carrying boxes of cards. So Fanatics is not going to have any trouble getting boxes and cases of cards into the hands of customers. It's the GTS Magazine Exchange, all of them are taking orders. They have more orders than they can fill. So this is an ideal situation to just disintermediate the category. So if you're any kind of a distributor that's not really somehow helping Fanatics get to customers they couldn't otherwise get to, which I have a hard time figuring out what that would be, the business is being disrupted as we speak. So all distributors, corporate as well as hobby, I think this is a big change in the industry.
Yeah, Rex and I are along the same lines of thought. We'll take it. We'll go an extra step. And Rich, I specifically held this question back for you.
Well, Brad, before you get to that, let me just respond to Rex's situation. Is that just like, I'll turn over to Rich here, but just like with the Lids thing, Fanatics is already in the warehousing business. It's like Amazon. They have their own stuff. They have other people's stuff, and they're masterful in being able to get stuff to the people that want it. So I don't think they have to buy a distributor. They already are a distributor.
Great.
And they already have that expertise, probably to at least as high a level in order picking and pulling and all that stuff, and customer relationship management software. I think they have all that stuff. So I don't know that I'm disagreeing with Rex as much as just saying that if they're going to buy a distributor, it needs to be somebody that has a capability that they don't already have.
And what's interesting is Rex actually gets stuff directly from Fanatics. He's posted that on previous shows. So Rex may, and he's also a business person. So Rex is looking at this from we're not shop owners right now. Jim's been a shop owner. I've been a shop owner and a shop manager. I don't know about Victor and Brad, but he's looking at it from a purely business viewpoint. And that's something to remember, that he's looking from a business viewpoint at that. And that's something, as Victor pointed out about his railroad thing, it's, if you look at things on a business level, that's a good thing.
Well, kudos to Rex. I mean, I think they've got a great shop. They got a good thing going. I believe that they are Fanatics' ideal customer.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a guy and his sons, entrepreneurial, growing, good mind for business, and understand how to merchandise product. This is the kind of card shop that Fanatics will like, and so they want to have the relationship directly with Rex and Max and Owen. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that the distributor kind of gets in the way of that customer intimacy.
Yeah. And before I move on to the next topic, I want to say good morning to a couple of people that joined us. Good morning, Kamikaze. Good morning, Hobby Champs. And of course, good morning, Mr. Frank. Appreciate you all joining. So, Rich, this question I've been kind of holding back and saving for you, because there are new companies, and we saw this at the National, but you weren't able to. There are now more and more companies that are creating podcasts and media and blogs and really trying to expand their outreach into the hobby. As someone who's been a hobby creator or content creator probably longer than Jim.
No.
Jim. But I will ask. I will ask. What are your thoughts around more content and these actually like more corporate becoming more content creating and issuing information out than we're used to or we're expected?
You know, when the owner of Triple helped to open a beautiful new store that you and I went to, Brad.
Yes, it is.
And we've talked about that, and I'll talk to him in between his occasional gruffness. We'll actually have good discussions. And I said, he goes, well, is there, and I go,
He froze. Along that lines, what are your thoughts, Dr. Beckett? What are your thoughts on that? And we'll come back.
What was that? Because you were talking about the explosion of
content creation and businesses jumping into that.
I had a great exchange with Torsten Bauer, and I've got a podcast coming out pretty soon. Maybe I've already recorded it, but one of the things he brings up is something called Price's Law, and it's more of a guideline, and it suggests that as the amount of content on the internet, I think I've got this right. Well, the amount of content is the amount that let's see, 50% of the content is of the good content that you really want is produced by the square root of the content providers. And again, the corollary for our industry is that the more content is being produced, the more bad content is being produced exponentially. And so what is required is more discernment. There's going to be more and more content. There's way more content than there was a year ago, than 2 years ago. And so you've got to figure out who are the trustworthy content creators. And I'm looking at a bunch of them, but that's up to the hobbyist to figure out who do I want to follow. And you can't follow everybody. I tried to listen to all the podcasts 3 years ago, and now and so it's exponentially increasing, but the good ones are not exponentially. That's what I'm saying. There's
speaking of a good podcast, speaking of a good webcaster, there he is. And I'll repeat what I said before we all became circles. Is that when I was talking to Lawrence, who's the owner of Triple Cards, when Brad, you and I went to that beast store, and one of our conversations, as I said, no, there's really never such a thing as too many good card stores. You may have too many card stores, but you never have enough good card stores. You never have enough good podcasters. If the person is interesting, says something good, like for example, I like to talk. I listen to Bo most mornings of 1 Million Cubs. He's a former radio guy. He knows how to do a podcast in terms of a radio audience. In other words, and I, in a sense, I almost try to coach him sometimes, is that there are themes. He did one bit where he talked about when he was a young, struggling guy doing cooking with Bo. That became one of his radio bits. I laughed for 25 minutes. It had nothing to do with the hobby, but it was hilarious content. It was good content. Mike Moynihan, who actually helped break that story about the distributors, Mike brings good content. He and Ty bring good content. And there's something to be said for that. I appreciate Jim's podcast. Jim is a 15-minute podcast every morning. I can do that before getting on with my day. It is wonderful that it's 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, Brad, I'm sorry it took me so long to answer your question, but there you go.
Rich, it's only 15 minutes if you're on. It's 12 minutes otherwise.
Okay.
Mike, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I have a face for radio, so that's why I do a podcast. But
I hear you. What do you know? What's worth saying, Big Gat?
Well, I was listening to y'all just as we're getting ready to. I'm literally about to leave, but I was like, I got to get on and talk about this. I'm one of the few people who thinks everyone shouldn't make content, which is probably very unpopular, just because there are a lot of voices in our community that say, hey, just make content. Now, it depends on your motivation, quite frankly. If you're doing it simply to share your collection and just, not with the expectations that you're going to be quote unquote YouTube famous or whatever, then I say, yeah, go for it. because there is a community of friends that you will make through that. How many is it? Only time will tell, and depends on how many people resonate with what you collect. But there's a reason people come and go, because people come into the content creation thing with rose-colored glasses, and they think, oh my gosh, I'm going to, have thousands of friends. And the reality is most people don't have that type of success. And so if you just go, look, whoever I meet, and I'm going to do my thing, that's the right attitude if you're just going to create content. But people leave because they get frustrated. They get, oh man, nobody's watching my stuff. I got 12 views, in the last year or whatever. And that's not the motive. You shouldn't do it for that reason. Right. And so, and yes, John, I'm talking to you. He said, I can take your hint, Mike. John, you need to stop making content. Just kidding. John Keating's one of my favorites. Like, I have must-watch channels, and you can't watch everything. Jim said it earlier. It's impossible to watch or listen to everything. And so we all probably have a few select channels that we are must-watch for us. And then we all have some that, man, if it's a cool topic, I'll click on it, and some that I'm just subscribed just to kind of see what they're doing, and I'll very occasionally watch a video or consume some of their content. And that's all everybody has to. If I watch content, just the channels I'm subscribed to, I'd never get off YouTube. And so we all have to choose. Ideally, you want people to watch your content that resonate with what you do. And for me, it's vintage or what, I got to come over and see Jim's wall. I'm just like, good grief. I'm sitting here just staring at Jim's wall. I can't stop staring at him.
You're the vintage guy, but now you're the breaking story guy.
Yeah, that was kind of.
And Mike, to be honest, it was, you're one of those podcasts that that pops up on my YouTube feed that subscriber, and I saw the story, distributors being given the boot by Topps. I said, okay, I got to watch this one.
Yeah.
So so you're an example of a webcaster that I occasionally watch, but that topic was like, I better watch that one.
Yeah.
So so kudos to you on being one of the first out there breaking the story.
Yeah, Ty called me, said I've gotten this from every source that's any good, and I'm like, we're about to get sued, but hey, let's do it. And like, if this is not right, but we had it from
getting sued puts you on the map, Mike.
Yeah, we had it from Topps, so it was like we can run with this. And but what's also cool is I do Chasing Cardboard and Golden Age of Cardboard podcast and On the Fly and Baseball Collector. So hopefully through those different avenues of content, I'm going to reach. There are some people that like one part and don't like the other part, and that's cool. Like the hard thing is keeping up with all of that. There's a lot, and Hobby Hotline, and so there's just a lot to deal with. But that's actually fun for me. And so, like, Chasing Cardboard's a completely different audience than Baseball Collector. It is. There's some overlap, but the reality is it's trying to reach different people.
I did put that link in, and I'll actually show that here in a second. My producing on the fly is just a hair bit slow. So, but I did put into the actual comments, the actual YouTube show that we're all speaking of. And I really just appreciate you coming on and watching and
Mike, I appreciate the fact that those were like 15, 20-minute professionally done videos on the Chasing Cardboard. They were really good. I like the fact that one of them was basically telling the guy to keep his collection because of the backstory.
Yeah.
Showing that not everybody's just out for every last buck. Sometimes it's so important for people to keep their cards because it's a telescope into their lives.
I hope it comes across that we're genuinely that way. We're not just doing it for the show. That's how we are.
Right.
Wait, in the next few weeks, we bought 6.5 million cards a couple of weeks ago. So that's coming out.
Another breaking story.
It was crazy. But that's coming on a couple of episodes of Chasing Cardboard in the next couple of weeks.
Cool. And I know our mutual friend, or some of our mutual friend, Rob Veras, had one of his first episode of the year was him showing how he sold to our friend Wake and Break Sports Cards, who set up across from me at a Dallas card show,
Yep.
2 million cards. Basically, he cleaned out one of his, part of one of his warehouses. There's plenty of cards out there. It's just a matter of distributing them to everybody who needs them. But that's so cool that we're getting cards to people who are going to need them.
And they just want them in their collection. But I got to run, guys, but keep doing a great job. Good to see y'all.
Thanks, Mike.
Oh,
Good to see you too. And you have a fantastic day, fantastic Saturday, Mike.
all right. Y'all too. See y'all.
Sure thing. Victor, I want to give you a chance this is the actual page of the web YouTube show for everybody. But Victor, I want you to have your time to comment here real quick on, the explosion of content creation within corporate.
Well, I'm going to echo the sentiments of what's already been said, but I think there's another element that we should be aware of, and that is kind of within content creators. There's this immature thought that if you get sponsored, that you're somehow labeled as like a sellout, or you're labeled as an industry guy now, or you're labeled with these things that are really, in my opinion, immature. And I don't, I'm a content creator. I love creating content. I'm not sponsored by anybody. But at the same time, if I'm approached with an opportunity, at the same time, I will consider taking a look at the contract. That's all I'm saying. But I think it's highly unfair when you're if you're an influencer and a content creator, and you get the interest of the industry, and to me it's unfair to be labeled with anything like that. I just think it's kind of childish, to be honest with you, if I'm just going to be straight up.
Yeah. Well, I did want to give this some time. We're not going to give it a lot because we're running up against the clock. But Rich, you had mentioned this 80K card theft that we had at the national. Could you go a little bit more into
Sure. Rick
your
Giddings,
thoughts?
who's known as Gizmo Sports Cards, apparently gave a guy, and if you've been in the coin business or coin dealers, this is actually fairly common in the coin world, where you'll give somebody coins, and you tell them how much it is, they'll do the deal, and they'll just bring you back the money. My guess, for all I know, since they had each other's phone numbers, they knew each other, it was probably something similar to that. He gives the guy the cards. Oh, let me show it to my son, who's probably involved in the business. But instead of just finishing the deal, the man allegedly, because until it's done in a court of law, I don't want to say definitely, walks off with the cards. And the cards are worth a lot of money. And it's supposedly $80,000 worth of cards. So that's a lot of money. And that's a lot of really good cards. It would wipe any of us off the map, so to speak. And I feel really sorry for Rick, because I know this is a major blow to his business. My gut instinct tells me it was probably just a really well done setup. Build confidence, hit the big one. That's just my instinctive reaction. But for Rick, it really sucks.
Yeah. Dr. Becker, you want to comment?
Oh, I agree. I mean, you just got to be careful that we're talking about larger amounts of money, and Rich, that's still a lot of money even for coin collectors, gold coins. It's really bad. But I just think you got to be careful with your trust. Trust has to be earned, and not maybe even short-term earning trust is not enough. Long-term earning trust. So I feel bad for him. If that's how it went down, Rich, that's a cautionary tale for all of us.
Yes.
Victor, any comments?
I don't know how they do it with coins, but in the card transaction setup, to me the whole transaction was kind of like odd to me. It's something that I don't know very much about, and I don't know. I had more questions than anything else. It was just weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, and yes, and part of me also said Rick should have known better. He's been a member of the National Dealer Board. You should know better. I mean, because they're, for many years, the National Dealer Board were in the middle of the floor. So if something came up, they could all immediately go in one direction or another. Somebody could go and take care of a problem. And Rick should have known. I mean, I was very, he asked me and I said, Rick, you're welcome to post on my Twitter page, my Facebook page, my LinkedIn page, any details you want, because I want you to get the cards back. So it's like, Rick, you're welcome to do that. You have my full support in getting your cards back. But there's a part of me that says, whether you lose $8 worth of cards or $80,000 worth of cards, it hurts. It hurts.
Yeah, it does. It does. I will say this. I'm planning on this is a little bit of promotion, but I'm getting really tired of card shops getting robbed. So I'm planning a show with a particular shop at MoCo with a company that does protection of retail shops in the video surveillance, access control, and with the person of 3-letter government status to try to get the word out on how to protect people. So look for that coming up very quickly. I've got one more piece to put together, and then I'm going to go live one night and actually have this discussion. So if you know any card shops, if you know anybody that's getting tired of that, please have them reach out to me, and I'll share that information. The Sports Collectors Digest is up because I wanted to let everybody know. Just look out. There's going to be an article on Hobby Hotline about Hobby Hotline on Sports Collectors Digest, and our deal at the National. So kind of want to do a little Hobby Hotline promotion there. Also,
since Rex is one of our, valued listeners, I will point out Rex and I have, in a sense, had this conversation about what a tricky position he's in, and he and his family are in, because he wants to have a user-friendly store, at the same time be careful about, protecting his merchandise. It is a very thin line.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, the answer, the partial answer is cameras, and the next answer, then beyond that, is prosecution and visible punishment. Not hand slapping, but serious penalties. Not you get the stuff back, and somebody ought to go to jail. This is grand theft. But camera up, everybody.
Yep.
And John, that's a great post. And I'll also point out that our own Logan Ward, your Mr. Skidmarks, had a very similar situation with a very well-known dealer named Anthony Devine, where Anthony lost a whole bunch of cards. Logan found them and returned them to him. And Logan probably can tell the story a lot better than I can, but it is one of the great stories how Logan made sure that Anthony lost almost nothing when he could have lost almost his whole business.
Yeah. So we're up against it. I wanted to say, join us on Tuesday, this Tuesday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 6 Pacific, episode 171 of Hobby Hotline. We'll have, just was on, Mike Moynihan, and then Mr. Herman 3B, and 1 Million Cubs, Bo, and then I'm going to do some substituting and just jump in and, just be comic relief or whatever. I'm going to be jumping in as well, but make sure you tune in on Tuesday. Good grief, that's a tongue twister. Join in, and man, thanks for having us, letting us have a part of your Saturday morning, and go buy some baseball cards. Talk to you later.